Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we're going to talk about the do's and don'ts of job selection. I wish that I would have had someone to talk to me when it was time for me to select jobs as a new NP. It would have prevented a lot of heartache that I went through as a new NP. Number one, do not ever sign a contract that hinders you from leaving a job before a certain time frame. For example, you have to stay here and work for 2 years or 3 years. This is a red flag. Okay, you do not want to sign anything that hinders you from leaving. We do sign basic contracts with any job just to say, we work here, this, blah, 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 but not a contract that hinders you from leaving. I'll discuss this experience with you when I discuss my experiences as an MP during my first year. Number two, do not agree to work more than 40 hours a week. So you want to kind of clarify this when you're in the job interview. Discuss the expectations, the requirements, your duties that's going to be required throughout the day. Because sometimes if you have more than one facility to go to, you kind of got to say, hey, how am I going to have enough time to do all these things? My first job, I didn't clarify this. I was working more than 40 hours a week, and I promise you, you will quickly become burnt out. It's depressing. It feels like there's no hope. And then how can you learn if you're not resting and if you're constantly at work and you're busy, So a lot of times at work, you don't even have that kind of time to focus and do the type of things that is required to learn, like that you need to do in order to learn, like look things up and this and that. My first day on the job, I had 25 patients to see by myself. So where's the time to learn and look things up and do things like that? I spent most of my time calling the doctor, trying to figure out, what it is what do I have to do next. But to have that, with that, where to practice by guidelines, that was just kind of out the door. I'm just kind of listening to what the doctor's saying. So are you really learning? And if you are you really doing things according to practice guidelines? I'm not sure. So you do want to just verify how many hours a week is expected of you. Number three, do not be afraid to speak up regarding your needs. And the interview is the time to do this. And even if you're not able to address everything at that moment because maybe you forgot, just be sure to go home and really think about the job, think about further questions that you may have. But don't be afraid to speak up. Listen, I can do this, but I can't do this. Just make sure in the interview that this is going to work for the employer. And more importantly, make sure it's going to work for you. Speak up about your needs. Number four, do not take a job if they're not offering you 2 days off per week. If it's a job that you're working 5 days, a 40-hour week, which is 5 days. In the hospitals, maybe the nurse practitioners might work 3 days a week, or they might do the 7 days on, 7 off schedule. So depending on the job, just make sure you have the required amount of days off per week. This is also important. It goes back to the don't take a job if you have to work more than 40 hours a week. You'll be quickly burnt out. My first job, I was working 5 days one week and 6 days the next week. So I was missing, I was missing a few days off per month. So, that quickly adds up to burnout. So don't take a job if they're not going to offer you the appropriate amount of days off per week. And make sure you verify this. So number five, So you don't want to take these jobs that are not going to be supportive during your first year. Your first year is crucial. You know, you don't want backlash for things that you don't know. You want to have an environment where you can learn and grow and you can be proficient and you can practice like a good NP. You know, you don't want a job where you're being rushed. You have so much things to do in a day that you're not even thinking, you're just working. Like you're just doing it. You know, I mean, you'll probably understand that once you get your first job. You know, there's no thought behind it. You're just doing the job. You don't have time to think. So, and there's no one teaching you. You're just kind of on your own. Like I said, my first job, first day I was on my own. I didn't even know how to write prescriptions. I remember a patient came in telling me she had a pain in her lower leg. She's had it for about a month. And someone recommended that she possibly get an ultrasound. And me, being a new NP, it didn't even cross my mind, DVT. I don't know what was crossing my mind anyway. I was just probably so nervous I couldn't think. But you know, as a new NP, you need more time to be able to put pieces of the puzzle together. You need to have that, you know, practicing by guidelines, you know, that evidence-based practice. We need that. And I didn't have time for that. I had 25 patients to see. I was scared out of my mind. No one was in the practice with me. It was just me. And I told the patient she didn't need any imaging studies on her leg. Now, how scary is that? But this is a new NP who doesn't have any guidance. There's no one teaching you. You're just kind of going with the flow. These are dangerous jobs. Okay, thank God, you know, whatever became of this patient, she was a patient of the practice, so she didn't have a DVT. I did order ultrasound studies later down the line when she came back with the same issue. But my first day, when I came to work and she complained of leg pain and her friend was recommending, you know, ultrasound or imaging studies, I didn't feel like she needed it. This is just an inexperienced NP that doesn't have any guidance. So be careful with these kind of jobs. You're not going to learn this way. Number 6, do not travel too far for your first job. This can be a little, you know, difficult. I mean, you're a new NP. You have so much to learn, so much to focus on. I remember one of my jobs, I traveled. It took me at least 2 hours to get to work. And I don't think it was because the job was too far. I mean, it was a little far, but the traffic as well, I didn't put into the mix. So travel, I had to wake up super early to get to work, like 5 o'clock in the morning, and be on the road by 5:30 to get there by 7 or 7:30. And then I didn't get off until, you know, maybe 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. And then again, I'm back in traffic and I'm taking so long to get home. So I was exhausted. You know, I couldn't open up my books and read and kind of look up things that I didn't know for the day. I was just too exhausted, kind of focusing on my next day of work. So you might want to consider not traveling too far for your first NP job. It can weigh in heavily on, you know, your happiness at the job. So just consider that. Number 7, do not settle for your first job that's offered. Make sure this job is right for you. Make sure they're offering you the things that you need as a new NP. And see if there's anything else out there that may benefit you. Because there's many jobs out there. You just have to look for them. So don't settle for the first job that's offered to you. Number 8, do not take a job that's not offering you benefits such as CMEs, vacation time, sick time, health insurance. I mean, this can be up to you. If that's something that will still benefit you. Maybe you have your own health insurance, you don't need theirs. You're not concerned with the CMEs for your first job, that's up to you. But just consider these things with your first job as an MP. See if they have benefits to offer you. Maybe this won't be the right job because of that reason. There are many jobs out there that do offer benefits. So like I said before, don't settle for any job. You don't have to settle for your first job. But if you can tough these type of things out for the first year, that would be completely up to you. Number 9, do not take a job that you absolutely do not want. You can tell yourself, oh, I'll do this for a year. But if the job is giving you red flags in the beginning and you try to convince yourself that you're going to do it for a year, trust me, you're not going to last the year. So don't take a job that you absolutely don't want. There's other jobs out there to choose from. Just be patient and wait. But don't take a job that you don't want because you're not going to last. A year can be a long time doing something that you really don't want to do. Number 10, do not take a job just for the experience that it might offer you. You want to make sure the job is the right fit for you. And again, that goes with number 9. Don't take a job that you don't want. I know I was taking jobs just because maybe it was an internal medicine job and I was just so excited for the opportunity. I'm like, I can learn everything that comes along with internal medicine. But I failed to realize that particular job wasn't the right job. I wasn't working for the right doctor. It just wasn't a good fit, but I convinced myself it was because I said, I'm going to be experienced. I'm going to be so smart. I'm going to get to do everything. But I didn't consider my schedule, my working hours, my expectations, the fact that I had to sign a contract for 2 years, big red flag. I didn't consider any of these things. I was too excited by the opportunity that turned out not to be such a good one. And I'll explain this in my future videos. Number 11, do not take a job that's not willing to give you the time to learn, to grow, and to transition into your new role positively. Keyword, positively. I remember I had a job where, and remember, I was an operating room nurse. So there's a lot of things that I just didn't do in my nursing career because I worked in the operating room. That's a different skill within itself. But it's nothing compared to this nurse practitioner role. So things such as laboratory interpretation, I had to learn that. It was a lot of medications that I weren't familiar with that maybe if I was a regular nurse, I would have been familiar with. But in the OR, we use different things. We use local, lidocaine, Exparel, pain medications, antibiotics for pre-procedural surgery. It was a different role. And if you think that the school that you went to is going to teach you how to be a nurse practitioner, don't hold your breath for that. I think the problem starts there with the schools that we go to be a nurse practitioner. We don't have a residency program. No, let's take it back a little bit. We don't even have good clinicals, okay? You have to find your own clinicals and you're lucky if you get your foot into any door. You just want to be able to complete your hours, but it's not necessarily clinicals that's teaching you these type of things that you need to know. There needs to be a better plan for nurse practitioners that starts in the educational role, something that we pay for, the college role. It should start there. That's where it's a big fail for us nurse practitioners. We're not getting the education we need to be able to be successful in these roles when we graduate. We don't know anything. It doesn't matter if you worked in the ER. It doesn't matter if you worked on that surge. When you get into this nurse practitioner role, it is a complete different role that we are not trained for. And we don't have the clinical experience. We're not trained thoroughly. And then we're expected to be experts when we start practicing. That's where they go wrong. So it's not our fault. No matter what role you're in, I realize, even after, me working for 1 year as a nurse practitioner, new nurse practitioners coming into whatever practice I was working in, no matter what their background was, they didn't know nothing. And it's not their fault, But, at this point, after a year, it's a lot that I've learned. So I was able to help them. But no matter, what your background is, there's still so much you don't know. So you do want to get roles that it's going to be conducive to you learning. I remember I had a job and I was so eager to learn. And I remember I was with a preceptor that wasn't so patient with the fact that I needed to learn. Like, oh my God, she doesn't know how to interpret labs. She doesn't even know what this medication is. She doesn't even know how to do this. She doesn't know how to do that. No, I don't, but I was willing to learn. Just give me some time. I never would come back the next day and not know something that I didn't know the previous day. Oh, I knew it. I was a quick learner. It's just that I didn't know. So be sure to get a job that's going to be conducive to you learning and patient. That's going to be important as well. Number 12. Let's talk about the do's of a job. The do's. So you do want to be sure to clarify the expectations of the job role or the tasks that you may have to perform for the entire day. For example, in a given day, I would do office work in the morning. I would be at the nursing homes by mid-afternoon. And by late afternoon, I had to round in the hospitals. So I had a lot of tasks for the day. Another job, I had to work in the nursing home. We had about 70 patients there. I had to try to rush through seeing them. And if I was taking too long in the nursing home, I would be getting calls from the provider like, hey, you need to get to the office because we're also busy in the office. So then when I get to the office, I'm expected to see office patients. But I don't necessarily have time to focus on my first task for the day, which is the nursing home patients. I still have to do notes. You have to order labs. It just didn't seem there as if there was enough time. I was just rushing. I would wake up in the morning, get ready for work. Once I get to work, the day flashed before my eyes. I don't even know what happened because I'm so busy. There was so much expectations. And in the office, we have to check labs. We have to check emails, a diagnostic imaging. So the process wasn't so organized, and you never know who's doing what, which a lot of the times no one's doing anything, especially if you have a new NP. So then it kind of falls on you to make sure, okay, let me just check labs to make sure someone's potassium isn't low before I go home today. And it can be up to 80 imaging studies. It's like, man, am I going to get through this while I'm trying to see patients? Because you might have about 80 patients scheduled for the day. So just kind of clarify what's your task going to be. What's a typical day going to be like for you as an NP? And decide if that's going to be something that works for you. Number 13. You do want to find out, and maybe get this in written form, what's going to be your expected hours, any explanation for working over 40 hours a week. You see how I emphasize this over 40 hours a week, if that's going to be required. So you do maybe, at that point, a contract of what's going to be expected to you from you, would be warranted. Hey, can we just kind of get an agreement of my work hours, my off days, my holidays, my hourly pay, or my salary, whatever the case. So do get this in written form. Number 14, do demand a 40-hour work week and a definite 2 days off per week schedule. Sometimes you may have one extra weekend to do, like maybe one Saturday or one Sunday for the whole month. So, clarify this as well. But for the most part, just make sure you have at least 2 days off per week and you're not working more than 40 hours a week. Number 15, Do ask many questions. Number 16, do be careful when working for private doctors. They may not function by guidelines and policies the way bigger organizations like the hospital will. I'm not too sure if they're, I'm not going to say they're not using evidence-based practice, but I'm pretty sure you as a new MP, you're not necessarily using evidence-based practice. You're kind of, asking the doctor for help, calling him or texting him if you have questions. Evidence-based practice it's not really indwelled into you. But when you work for bigger organizations like the hospital, they follow evidence-based practice. They're constantly updating you with CMEs or conferences on a certain topic. They have that constant turnover of education that they provide in the hospital setting, but private practice, not so much. Number 17, do visit the job worksite and speak to other providers or employees regarding the type of work environment, and get a feel of your duties, if possible. One of the jobs that I had, they wouldn't allow you to interact with the other providers. It was really strange. And like I said, I was there alone on my first day, so the providers didn't necessarily work together. But there wasn't a network of providers for me to speak to, and they honestly didn't want you speaking to the other providers. Not that they said this outright, but you could kind of sense it. It was pretty strange. But you do want to speak with the other providers and see, what they like or dislike about the job, or what's the cons, the pros versus the cons. Sometimes that can help you make a decision as well, just to get a feel of the environment. Because had I spoke with some of the providers from that one job that I had taken, I probably wouldn't have taken the job. A lot of them quit as well and resigned. So I probably wouldn't have taken the job if I was able to speak with one of them as well. So try to just see if you can speak to one of the providers that work there to kind of get a feel of the job. Number 18, do demand a thorough orientation before taking any job. See what their process is going to be for orienting you and see if it's going to work for you. My orientation consisted of maybe a 30-minute to an hour orientation, a quick run through of maybe what I need to do or how to do this or that. And after that, I've been on my own for every job if I had orientation at all, any orientation. Sometimes I just start the job. It's like, here you go. So just demand a good orientation. Tell them what your needs are. I need to be oriented for 3 months. I'm going to need support for this amount of time. Demand it. So I've discussed the do's and the don'ts of selecting a job. I hope this has been helpful. I wish that I had someone to guide me and speak with me when it came to me selecting jobs. Like I said, I'm on my 7th job as an MP. I've been an MP for 2 years. I think I finally found the job that's working for me. I'm learning what works and what doesn't work, and I'm learning what I need and what I need to demand. So I hope this has been helpful, and stay tuned.